She's a one.
So yeah, at Alchemix, we actually decided to put our threshold tolerance low at the beginning because security is actually an important factor in the buying process for our customers. It can also be a blocker if we are not secure enough. So this is why we decided last year to go for an ISO 27001 certification. So it's an international security standard. And we obtained it in July. So this allows us to thank you. This allows us to basically comfort us in the way we approach security, but also it's a business enabler. So it allows us to have a competitive advantage and to remove blockers in the buying process.
Jean-Baptiste?
Yes, so indeed the first and the main driver we see that brings companies to start security is usually your customers, because your customers at some point they will ask you what you do for security. We are in a B2B conference, so who already filled the security questionnaire from customers? Not everyone I see. So the day you are gonna fill your first security questionnaire, you're gonna have surprises. So I filled a lot, and there are still questions I don't understand, and I'm a security expert. So yes, these kind of things are usually the main and the first driver that make you realize, oh my God, yes, we need to do something, and we need to start thinking about security. The second driver is the security incident, whether it's internal, as you mentioned, because yes, one of your developers pushed the wrong button, or the intern erased the database on his second day, or maybe a data leak. All these kind of incidents are the second trigger of security. But you could be doubtful, oh, it's not going to happen to us. Maybe it's not going to happen to you. The thing that is going to happen to you is your customers requiring your security and wanting to know more about that.
And just one comment on what both of you said. We recently started our business in the US, and it's true that we had in Europe customers that asked us about, about security and security forms to fill in. That was not easy. In the US, it's even worse. If you don't have a certification, it's a no-go on business. Or maybe it's going to be a few customers, but then you're going to be swarming under security assessment that you got to fill in with sometimes 400 questions. So security, it's something you really want to have before going there.
Okay, thank you. So I didn't mention it at the beginning, but we will try to keep some time at the end for some questions you might have, if I do not fail too miserably at my timekeeper job. So second question, maybe you almost all mentioned that security was also an internal issue with mistakes coming from the inside, etc. How would you do to shape the mindsets of all the stakeholders of the company so that security and reliability is included at the heart of the process of development?
Well, first of all, I would say if you're thinking of setting up a security team and having, for example, a CISO or a IT security guy, it's a good first step. But as we said, security, it's a problem for everyone, for every employee. So it should not be something that you just delegate to someone who sits in his office, in his corner, and that everybody dislikes, because he's the guy who's going to tell you your password is wrong, or you have to do this, or you have to be compliant to this or that, etc. It really has to be a global mindset in the company if you want it to be effective. Because as we said with the different interventions here, most of the time, security issues, they come from human mistake. And it's not the IT guy who's going to do the mistake most of the time. It can be any kind of employee. It can be the intern, as you said, who erased the database on the second day. It can be someone from marketing who releases, for example, your whole marketing strategy for 2020 and your investment things, for example.
I'm curious, is it a real-life example, the intern?
I think we had 2 employees who has been intern and on their first day deleted the database. Not in our company, but in their previous companies.
And I mean, in the data leaks we uncover, 90% of them, they're mistakes, and they're, they can be, for example, this week we were working for one of our big customers. They're opening their new headquarters in New York. They're having a whole building built out there, and they worked with a small architect firm who installed everything in the building. This small architect firm, they don't really have any security team, and what happens? We actually found their server, which was not protected, so anyone in the internet could just go and browse freely in the server. And what was in the server? The whole blueprints of the building, along with the security cameras, the move detectors, the smoke detectors, and everything related to intrusion. You even had all the exit doors. So when you find this, obviously it's not something that anyone should see on the internet, especially because the headquarters was being built. So really, you had everything to do an Ocean's 11-like scenario. So yeah, basically it was a mistake. The guy had no idea his server was open and that anyone could browse into it.
Yes, actually us, during the certification, we had to do a lot of change management across the company. So we were the security team, and we didn't want to be the security team like the fascist guys that come with rules and everybody has to obey. So what we try to do is always to explain the why we were doing things, and when we were doing trainings, like for each rule or process, we were saying which kind of threat we were trying to mitigate. So when you explain the why, people actually come along more easily. And then it's a process of like a training repetition. You put in place control to make sure that people understood and they're compliant. And it doesn't come at once. Like you have to repeat, and then it comes for everybody. On the tech side, actually, we were actually happy to find out that things that we were doing as best practice from the beginning, they were actually good for the certification. Marketing and sales, it was more complicated because it's less in their culture to care about those things. But when we explained them also why it was important for them to be for a business enabler, that it will remove roadblocks and it will make the company safe, they actually got on board, and it was a nice ending, and we were all happy about it.
So yeah, the developers are really at the heart of security for your company, but they are not the only ones. You have everyone. If we just take a look at the developers first, of course you need to incentive them to do security, and it's fun because when we all describe the security guy or security girl, Giovanna, yeah, we know that it's mentally we have the image of someone boring or that is gonna say no and that is gonna prevent us to move forward. All modern companies that we interview and that help us shape our product are not with this mindset. So this is changing and changing fast. But today, when you build an application security team, you want them to be enablers. You want them not to say no to the developers, because the developers, they are too important to your business. You need them to work as fast as possible, because if you are a B2B SaaS, well, all the value you have, your product is made by the developers. So the faster and the better your developers can work, the happier they are, etc., the better goes your company. So you need to have a security team that works hand in hand with your developers. How do you do that? You have several ways to do so. One good thing about developers that they all share a passion for learning. And so if they share a passion for learning, it's super easy to interest them about security. One thing we do, like every other month, we have a hack night. So one of our employees set up a vulnerable server, and we buy beer and pizza and drinks. And so we spend a full evening hacking this vulnerable application. So we have a deep down on a specific vulnerability, and one developer can have a couple days to set up this thing and learn about the vulnerability, and then he will explain to everyone. That's a super easy way to spread the word about security, and your developers will buy that. They will love it because they learn, and they love that.
And because there are pizzas and beers.
Also, yes, and healthy salads, of course. So that's one thing, but you have also everyone else in the company. And so you need everyone to feel actor of the security of the company. For that, Google has one very important concept that is called the psychological safety. You need to have psychological safety everywhere because you want people to raise flags if they think something is going wrong, something is unusual. And you can only do that by welcoming people that will send you email. Hey, is this a phishing email? Is this strange? And in this way, you can interest everyone to that. It's building the security inside the culture of your company. As so, I'm a co-founder, so it's super important for me, and I speak about security a lot because I want all of our employees to know that security is super important and that we are counting on them to build security. It's not the job of only the technicians or only the engineers, or I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I'd like you, if possible, to share a few actionable tips and tricks, maybe things that are very practical, so that all of you can go back to your companies or startups or anything and say, okay, I have 1, 2, 3 tips and tricks I recall from the conference. What would you recommend first?
Well, the first thing is that I would totally join you, Jean-Baptiste, when you said you have to educate people in your company with fun-like events that are related to security. It's something that we do also, and same thing, we do it with pizza and beers. It works super well. Basically what we do is that we have a monthly event where we gonna present 2 things. The first thing is we talk about one of the data leak we uncovered, and that was due to a mistake, to explain what happened, etc., and to make sure that our own people won't do the same thing, which would be extremely embarrassing. And the second thing we discuss is actually the business impacts of having a bug or a security issue in our product. I mean, it can happen to everyone, it can happen to us, and generally we take a few examples and we say, okay, this related to the business, it's that much cost, it's that much dollar amounts, etc. We do this on a monthly basis, so that's a good thing to do. Second, I guess, is when you're hiring people and building teams, it's good to have in every team someone who's a little bit interested in security and who will be, you know, someone talking about security within the team. You don't have to have everyone in a team thinking security, but at least one person who's a good influencer is great. And the good thing is that in more and more universities, especially engineering ones, security is becoming a topic. So new recruits and people who are just out from school or university, generally they have a good knowledge of security. So it could be a good add to your team. And the third and last one I would say is I know that the ANSSI, Agence nationale de la sécurité des systèmes d'information in France, has very good publications and tips about basic things you can do in order to be secure as a company. They're very simple, they're nice to read, and they make security something that you want to read about and apply in your company. So these are resources that you can find online, they're free, and they're really good.
So I'm a former employee from ANSSI, so I cannot stress that enough. You have white papers, you have hygiene reflexes, and you have a MOOC also online, which is great. It's called SecNum Academy. Go, check it, see it, make it available for your employees. It can only be a good thing.
And we added it to our onboarding process of every single person. So either you're working with marketing, with analysts, with developers, you have to complete the MOOC from the ANSSI when you join Cyber Angel. So it's a good thing to add.
Is it in English?
You have both.
Oh, cool.
They try to improve it.
It's mostly French, but you have a few resources in English.
Giovanna, maybe?
So yes, what we do is we use KPIs to measure reliability and security. So KPIs are not just for business and product, but you can actually use it to objectify the conversation around reliability. So like you can use the uptime, which is like your availability, but there is also things like the number of bugs that you have in a certain period, the number of incidents. And I mean, if you can, which is can be complicated, measure the impact of a blocking bug over your customer. If you can do that, actually helps you prioritize things, because you're going to end up prioritizing those items with the roadmap. So if you know the cost of delay of an initiative linked to reliability, you're going to be able to prioritize it better. And then you can set objectives based on those KPIs. The second one, it's more related to what you were saying, like making people feel safe to say when something bad happens. So what we have is something called the fail, learn, and succeed. So if we have a fail, we say that it's an occasion to learn from it. So we expose what we failed, how we're going to learn from it, and what are the things to put in place to succeed. It's similar to the postmortem, like the classical postmortem that we do on IT when something goes wrong, but it's more broad, so we extended it to all teams. And it makes people feel safe because they don't feel guilty of having done a mistake. And the third, it actually connects to what you said about third parties. So when you're a B2B company, you use a lot of tools. And at some point, we had so many tools, almost more than employee in the company, between open source frameworks and third parties that we were using for our business. So if you early on, we didn't do that, and I regret, but if you early on, when you choose a tool, you assess security, it will avoid you that when you want to be compliant with GDPR or with a certification, you have to go through all of them and ask them about security. So in the buying process, make sure that security is taken in account, and just don't do it in a very disinvolved way, but it's important who you choose to help you build your business.
Yeah, open source does not mean secure.
Yeah.
Oh, we should say that. Jean-Baptiste?
So my three tips. So the funniest is about food. So we love food at Screen. The cookie thing, super easy to do for anyone. Basically, if someone leaves his computer unattended, you go on it, you go to Slack or to emails, and you send a Slack or an email at channel, I'm bringing cookies tomorrow, and you send it. It's a super incentive to have people think about security and that they should not leave their station unattended.
And
it's
if I may add, Aurélien, which is in the room, told me yesterday that they had the breakdance version. Like you have to do a breakdance demo if you leave your computer unlocked.
I like it. That's a good one as well. So the cookie is the first one. Super easy, and it took super well. And our sales guy, the team that is in San Francisco, is really doing crazy things on that. Well, so that's fun. The second thing is a perk. You can offer password managers to your employees. It costs $4 a month per employee, so $4 a month per employee. It's okay, and it feels like a gift because yes, they can also use it for their personal life. And the password manager is something that actually makes your life easier because you don't have to remember your passwords. You can save your a credit card code in it, access it from your phone. It's something that is safe, super easy to use, and that's a nice gift, and it will level up your security, reduce the phishing attempts, etc. The third thing that is a bit more complicated, but just let me ask the question: who already did or ordered a penetration pen test for his company? Okay, so when you order a pen test, it's a chance to sensibilize everyone about that, because the CEO is going to care about it, of course. The sales team is going to care about it because they are using the pen test result to sell your product. Yes, of course, we are secure. We ran this pen test, and look, we had a few findings, or we fixed all of them. And obviously, the developers, they are going to care about the pen test because that's their job that someone else is judging. And so if you manage to make a good communication about the pen test internally at the team meeting, hey, in 2 weeks the pen test is starting, hey, the pen test is ongoing and we detected the attacks, hey, the pen test is over, we had 12 findings and we already fixed half of them. You can make the pen test effects last for maybe a year up to the next pen test. And it's a very good thing to remind everyone that yes, security is important, and we have a checkpoint that is regular. I say yearly because most of your customers will require a yearly pen test. So that's my 3 simple tricks for security.
Perfect. Thank you. So I think it's Q&A time. So please overwhelm us with questions. Yes.
Gotten to the point where visually they can simplify the presentation of the meaning of the data, you know, that the platforms find and need to show to the users? Has it become simple enough for someone who's not in the métier to be able to understand and do something with it? Thank you.
So that was one of our purpose when we started Screen, is to make it available to people who have no knowledge about security, and so that's still a very important part of our customers. And so yes, when you have security findings, if you are 100% certain that this is a security issue, then you can bother the developers. And so you can easily include like the stack trace, so the developer will know which line of code is impacted by the issue. And our goal building Screen was to make it so simple that we will not bother you for everything. So we log everything, but what you will only be alerted by what we think is relevant to you and relevant for you and actionable for you. And just by explaining, security is not magical. Just by explaining what is an issue or a threat, it gets super easy to understand how you should react, if you should react.
And it's the same at Cyber Angel. We have this challenge where when it comes to cybersecurity, you can have thousands of events every day, and sometimes it's very hard to see which one is the most important and which one will cost you, like your company. So we had a huge challenge like that at the beginning, and that's why we developed algorithms in order to filter out all the false positive and just leave the one thing that matters for the customer in the end, the real risk. And we also made sure to have it explained with all the data and all the tips and things that you need to fix it. And it can be readable by either someone dealing with security who has knowledge with it, but also someone who's more business oriented, because some of our findings, they go to the executive committee. So obviously they have to be, not technical and business oriented.
If I may quickly add, I said that at Citalid we are developing a cyber risk management platform. So clearly this is at the heart of the product. We are turning technical data into business data in order to talk to the execcom, the CXO's profiles. So yeah, it's growing. Security products, as you saw, are more and more business oriented or actually available to anyone. So the answer is yes. I think we're trying our best.
Last question, yeah, sure.
Hi, I'm the CEO of You Don't Need a CRM. We are a tech startup. I have a tech profile. So at the beginning of the company, as a CEO and with a tech profile, was really focused on security stuff. And as the company grow, I give less focus because I have a lot of other things to do, and the things are diluting. So there's two problems. So how do you keep people focused on security? And the other one, you talked a little bit about it, but I think it's interesting, is how for the new employee, you train them to the security problems, knowing that they will have to learn a lot of things. So how do you sensibilize them about the most important things about security when they come in the company?
So what we do is we have something called the Security Guild, where we have people from IT, but also from sales, marketing, support. So it's across, we meet regularly so that we keep the conversation alive. And then to make sure that everybody is on board when they join, it's part of our onboarding process. So we have security training, which one is generic, and then depending on where you go work, there is a second security training, which is more specific for developers, one more specific for support. So it's a continuous process. It's not just a one shot. Yeah.
And I think it's hard.
Last quick answer. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Thank
I
you,
think
Jean-Baptiste.
it's hard as a developer to learn all the security things you need to be a security expert. So what you need to do at some point is hire someone who's going to be the job, whether it's going to be the CISO or the first security engineer, or a developer with a very with some love of security. It's going to be your security champion, and it's going to be the person that that is going to spread the word instead of you.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you to all of you, and Jean-Baptiste, I'm gonna try to remember the cookie story. Definitely.
She's a one.